I wouldn't really call it a surge. According to a new poll, Americans don't hate Meghan and Harry quite as much as they did before, but will this increase in popularity be enough to turn things around for the Duke and Duchess of Hypocrisy? Hello, and a very warm welcome to Kate Middleton and the Queen channel. Just yesterday, I made a whole video about how proud I was of Jack Royston for finally realizing that Harry and Meghan are a couple of grifters who do not deserve support from anybody. Well, now today, it looks like we are right back to square one with this guy. In Newsweek today, there is an article titled Prince Harry and Meghan Markle Surge in Popularity. Honestly, though, I think surge is a very generous term in this situation. I don't think there is anyone out there who's going to claim that this year has been a good year for Meghan and Harry. This year has seen the two of them make absolute fools of themselves time and time again in front of the entire world. I think the highlight for me, and probably most of you too, was the near catastrophic car chase. I don't even think Meghan and Harry could top that one. I mean, I still don't know what they were thinking with that. I still remember the reports, too, that Meghan and Harry had almost suffered the same fate as Diana. I mean, it was so over the top, so exaggerated, so absolutely ludicrous. There was also Harry's book Spare that came out in January that made him look petty and vindictive and incredibly jealous of his older brother, publishing intimate details about his brother's body parts that nobody had any business knowing. He also really went after his father and his stepmother in the book, and that didn't earn him any fans. Last December, of course, Harry and Meghan released their creatively titled Netflix docuseries Harry and Meghan. There was a lot of BS in that docu-series, but by far the worst moment was that mock curtsy that Meghan did, so incredibly offensive to so many people. With that little move, Meghan proved beyond the shadow of a doubt that she has no respect whatsoever for British traditions that people hold dear, and she also had no respect whatsoever for the late Queen. So on December 5th of last year, right before their docu-series came out on December 8th, Redfield and Wilton did a poll, and they showed that Harry was holding on to a net approval rating of plus 38, and Meghan's was plus 23, which for the two of them I think is pretty good. So after the docu-series and after Spare had hit shelves, they did another poll, and it showed that Meghan and Harry's popularity had absolutely plummeted among Americans. Harry's net approval rating was at a pathetic -7, and Meghan was even worse at -13. Which is hardly surprising. I mean, how are they going to earn fans when all they do is trash their own families to make a quick buck and tell a bunch of lies in the process? Certainly not a good way to win friends and influence people, if you ask me. But the way Harry and Meghan see it, that is all they have to sell. That's the only interesting thing about them, is what they may or may not say about the royal family. If they stop talking about the royals, people are going to stop paying attention, and that to them is a death sentence. On behalf of Newsweek, Redfield and Wilton have done another poll. They have asked a representative sample of 1,500 Americans what they think of Harry and Meghan. And to me, the results were a little bit surprising. I suspect they were careful in the 1,500 people they selected. I don't believe it truly as a representative sample. I think they chose people who would be more favorable to Meghan and Harry. The poll was performed on December 8th. And according to the results, Harry was liked by 45% and he was disliked by 16%. That gives him a net approval rating of plus 29. Pretty interesting. Now, they also did a poll back in September, and according to Newsweek, it's a 17-point difference. In September, he was only sitting on plus 12. And let's talk about Meghan before we get on to analyzing the results. So Meghan was liked by 38% of respondents and she was disliked by 23%. That puts her at plus 15. That's a 13-point difference in September when she was on -2. Most millennials reported that they like Meghan Markle, 53% compared to 16% who reported that they disliked her. And boomers were the only age group in which Meghan was disliked more than she was liked. Not a surprise there, though. We boomers tend to care about our families. Among people over 59 years old, 27% according to Newsweek viewed her favorably, and 38% reported an unfavorable view. They also break it down according to who people voted for in the presidential election. No surprise that fans of Joe Biden were more favorable towards Meghan. 51% of people who voted for Joe back in 2020 approve of Meghan, and 17% oppose her. Interestingly enough, it seems like Trump supporters are also changing their opinions a little bit. She was still disliked more than she was liked. It was 35% who reported to dislike her, and 29% of people reported that they like her. But considering the fact that Trump himself has called her out in the past, I think Meghan should be very happy about these numbers, if they're even accurate. For Harry, 58% of Biden voters reported to be in favor of him, and 12% view him negatively. And as for Trump supporters, he came out pretty well with that group as well. 38% reported to hold a favorable view of Harry, and 24% view him unfavorably. So, Newsweek is describing this as a surge in popularity, but I think that's a bit of an overstatement here. I think Jack Royston is getting a little too excited about these numbers. Now, sure, it looks like Americans are starting to see them in a more positive light, but let's talk about why that is. I think for Meghan and Harry, one of their biggest problems since they have left the royal family is overexposure. We're always seeing stuff about them in the media. It's just relentless. And at the same time, they're complaining that they want their privacy and the media will not leave them alone. But at the same time, it's common knowledge that Meghan herself calls up the paps and tells them where they are going to be so that they can be photographed. It's this type of hypocrisy that is such a turnoff to so many people. But lately, Harry and Meghan have been doing a little better on this front. They have, for once, been laying low, or so it seems. I thought that Endgame was going to be it for them. Honestly, I'm surprised that their numbers look this good after Endgame, but I think I do understand why after thinking about it for a little while. I think there are many Americans who don't necessarily realize that Scooby Doo Doo is their mouthpiece and that Endgame is coming from them. For ordinary Americans who aren't familiar with the whole Sussex melodrama, it probably seems like Omid Scobie released a book. He claims that Meghan and Harry are not his friends, that they had nothing to do with the book. So why shouldn't ordinary Americans take it at face value and believe what he says? Of course, there are plenty of Americans who know what's up, and they're not going to report that they hold a favorable view of the Sussexes. But there are also many who just read the headlines, they don't read the articles. They know who Meghan and Harry are, they roughly know the story of why they left. And they also know that they've been seeing Meghan and Harry's names in the headlines a whole lot over the past nearly 4 years. But for the past 6 months or so, I think ever since Meghan signed up with WME, we have not been seeing their names in the headlines quite as often. So to me, it's not all that surprising that their reputation appears to have improved. But honestly, I don't think it's real. I think it's just that people have forgotten because people forget very easily and very quickly. I'm kind of starting to believe the rumors that I have been seeing that Meghan is busy writing a book of her very own, in which she is going to thoroughly trash the royals again. And if this book is what I think it's going to be, this could very well be the end for Meghan Markle. People are not going to take kindly to her bringing up stuff that happened years ago in order to make the royal family look bad. We've been through this already, we've heard it all, and the truth is, most people just don't care. A lot of the complaints that Meghan and Harry share, expecting us to be horrified, are complaints that we ourselves have experienced in our own families. It's just not that big of a deal. Meghan claiming that Catherine was so cold and cruel towards her because she didn't want to share her lip gloss. I mean, come on. Most of us read that story and we said, gross. I also wouldn't want to share my lip gloss with somebody I had just met. And then Harry telling stories like that William got more sausages at breakfast than he did when they were growing up. Yeah, that's also not impressive. And William got a bigger bedroom in the literal castle they were staying in. Well, Harry, nobody's going to feel sorry for you for that. So the polling done also asked respondents about their views on King Charles and Queen Camilla and Prince William and Princess Catherine. And luckily, it looks like King Charles has also not been damaged by these allegations that were in Omid Scooby Doo Doo's Dutch translation of his book. Just in case you've been hiding under a rock somewhere, let me remind you that in the Dutch translation of Omid Scobie's book Endgame, King Charles and Catherine were named as the members of the royal family who supposedly made some remarks about Archie's skin color before he was born. It looks like people were not stupid enough to fall for Scooby Doo Doo's machinations because King Charles and Princess Catherine are just as popular as ever, actually more popular even than in September. According to, again, Jack Royston writing for Newsweek, King Charles III was liked by 32% of Americans and disliked by 15% on December 8th, leaving him with a net approval rating of plus 17. So this was actually a 17-point increase compared with September. The polling done then put him on net zero. Not a very good thing for the king, but anyway, at least he's doing better. And then Catherine was liked by 47% and disliked by only 9%, giving her a net approval rating of plus 38. She was even up 5 points since September, which, I mean, she was already popular, so I'm glad she's doing even better with Americans. Prince William also did a little better. He was liked by 43% and disliked by 11%, giving him a net rating of plus 32. In September, he was only on plus 28, so that means he's got a 4-point increase. I would have loved to have seen Scooby Doo's face when he read these numbers. I'm sure he has, and I'm sure that he is so upset that his book didn't do what he thought it was going to do. Let's be real, he named it Endgame because he was hoping it would spell the end of the game for the monarchy, as if he had the power to do that. But anyway, now it's just showing him how irrelevant he really is, how unimportant, the fact that nobody listens to him. To me, Scooby Doo is on the same level as a mosquito. He likes to buzz in our ears to annoy us, but it's pretty easy to swat him away. And like a mosquito, there is always the chance that we're finally going to get him and never have to hear from him again. So I'm kind of starting to think that Endgame really is just a prelude to Meghan Markle's new book. I suspect that she put Scooby Doo up to it. She thought that she would test the waters with Endgame and see how people reacted to it. But I do wonder if the reception of Scooby Doo's book is going to change what Meghan Markle decides to put in her book. If she thinks that trashing the royals more is a good idea, then this should show her it's not. She needs to find something else to write about, but I guess the problem is she doesn't have anything. Not helping matters is the fact that lately Archwell has come under fire for being a wholly useless organization. Conservative commentator Ben Harris shared his opinion on Archwell, and he says that the drop in donations was a direct result of Meghan and Harry's declining influence. As reported by The Express, Ben Harris told Talk TV's Ian Collins, "I think this is exactly what it looks like. They've taken this fire sale a family secret strategy and have run out of stories to tell. Inevitably, they are therefore no longer of interest to the media they've been pitching to." And this is an interesting point that he's making here. I mean, maybe I've been giving Harry and Meghan too much credit, saying that they've been laying low and trying to not keep their names in the headlines quite as much as before. I suspected that WME was responsible for that they were telling Meghan that this overexposure problem was real and she needed to be quiet. But maybe that's not what it was. Maybe it's more that the press just doesn't want to report on them as much anymore. At the end of the day, if Meghan and Harry are not generating the clicks necessary for these media outlets to make money, they're going to be dropped. Nobody's going to do them any favors by reporting on them if it's not going to make money. Ben Harris went on to say, they're either going to have to come up with something more explosive or ridiculous or shameful, or they're going to seep into B-list, C-list, Z-list LA celebrities. He went on to say, I think it's more about influence than what they're doing. And as their influence declines, so will donations. And that's what the operation has been about. It's about influence and PR. And actually, they haven't done a very good job of it. Well, I'd say that's an understatement. They have done an absolutely horrible job of trying to make themselves look good in the eyes of the public. Sometimes the stuff they do really is so ridiculous, so over the top, that I think they must be joking. Surely they didn't think this was going to make people like them. But it seems like they are 100% serious. I mean, they at least take themselves very seriously. Think about what Megan did with the incident in Uvalde, where school children lost their lives for no reason. Megan showed up because she thought it was going to be a good PR event for herself. That was such an incredibly tone deaf move, and also such a slap in the face to the mourning parents. And she wasn't there to help those people. Come on. She brought a camera crew along, and the donations she made were what? I think some sandwiches and chips or something. And what about the time they showed up in Harlem, supposedly to help these children at a poor elementary school? This wasn't the near catastrophic car chase trip. This was a trip they did before that. So they showed up to this elementary school in Harlem and they tried to get everybody to buy Megan's stupid book, The Bench, and then they gave them boxes of rotten vegetables as a donation. And later on, it was this year, I think, actually, that we found out that they also tried to get all the parents and the teachers there to sign these NDAs, and they had to promise that they weren't going to say anything bad about Meghan on social media. So sure, maybe right now it looks like Harry and Meghan are doing better in the popularity stakes in America at least. But is this going to translate into long-term success for the two of them? Absolutely not. Because they're still a couple of grifters, they're still a couple of liars, they are still a couple of hypocrites. And they can't help themselves. It's only a matter of time before they demonstrate that to all of us once again. And you, what do you think of Meghan and Harry's popularity in the US? Do you believe this is going to help them? Please let me know your opinion below in the comments section. I also still need your help reporting the King-Charles channel for stealing my videos. Ugh, I hope this doesn't go on much longer. I'm getting so sick of it. But anyway, thank you very much for all of you who have already reported. Let's keep it going. Please also like and share this video with anybody else who would enjoy it. And before you go, don't forget to click the subscribe button to get more videos from Kate Middleton and the Queen. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for helping me in getting the King channel shut down. And I'll be back to see you in the next videos.